Welcome to Dicejunkies, and this is a review on Xanathar's Guide to Everything. This is the new 5th ed book that's recently come out that has new rules, expands on things, and all that good stuff. So let's look into it and see what we can talk about, what we think.
Xanathar.
Yeah, now we looked over this a little bit a few days back and looked back and forth a few times. Now the new classes, I think, archetypes are probably the biggest thing in this book.
That's what caught me the most. I mean, it is actually an amazing book in that it provides more material in almost every way.
Yeah.
Tools for the DM, magic items, which I always enjoy adding some more. 5th ed is still trying to keep the magic item quantity from getting too crazy, but they're adding more in with each book, and this one added a lot of cool ones. But the classes, I'd buy the book for the classes a lot.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, you have over 60 pages, I think, almost, or around about almost 60 pages of new class stuff. Everything from new barbarian, bard, cleric, druid, fighter, monk, paladin, ranger, rogue, sorcerer, warlock, wizard. All the classes have either 2 to 4 new things.
New archetypes.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to admit, some of them are not just good, but are genuinely almost like you were waiting. Yeah. Like the monk brought in a lot of archetypes that I was seriously waiting on to come out. And I was like, these need to be out, because I wasn't going to probably touch the monk until they put them out. But now there's some in there that I'm like, okay, these look fun, these look interesting, and they look like they finally helped the monk keep up with powerful classes like the barbarian. Because the barbarian and the fighter Eldritch Knight combo, the fighter Eldritch Knight were just some powerhouse builds.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest, like most of the classes in the original book, you had sort of the RP class, and then you had the actual
meaty tough
guy, yeah. And with this, they've added some more archetypes, so you have a little more choice of whether or not you what type of fighter, what type of person do you want to be, not just.
And a key part is a lot of these archetypes don't have the problem of fitting in only one of those roles. Like it's playable. And it's role play.
Yeah, they are more themed.
Because with 5th ed, as we said, being a team game, it's all, I mean, again, different play styles. You've gotten on to me a lot of times for different play styles, different DMs run different type of games. But with the party theme, the party heavy need of we all kind of need to do our job, it made me even more concerned about the role play archetypes. And I'm like, man, somebody brings that into the class, they could not just get themselves killed. But now these new archetypes, I'm going like, I haven't seen any archetype that doesn't carry its weight and offers some interesting options, especially that new paladin archetype.
Yeah.
Though that new paladin archetype almost seems to do both roles scary.
Well, and I'm sure as we look into it more, we'd probably find a bit of a balance in it, because I did notice that about a couple of them that looked a bit powerful off. Once you start counting in this is a reaction, that's a reaction, so that won't stack, or, that's a bonus action. You only have one bonus action, so that's not going to stack with that. I mean, with the limited number of actions that you can take in 5th ed, it stops even things that have some really OP abilities from being OP, because, it wastes this, so now I can't do this, and this. You
might not even realize at first that action was something you really needed to do other stuff. But just the ones that caught my eye.
The reactions are probably one of the most common one you got to watch out for, because doing a reaction at the wrong time, and 5th ed don't play. When it comes to
screwing up.
Yeah, you do a reaction at the wrong time, and it can really you can feel the results from that and go, man, that hurt.
True, but like the ones that caught my eye the most, like I said, was like the Kensai for the monk, and that new paladin oath were some ones that I said like these are some heavy hitters. They stood out almost immediately. Look at that Paladin for me. What's the Oath of Conquest?
Yeah, the
Those
other
two,
conquest.
the Oath of Conquest and the Kensai looked meaty. Like I'm not saying like they get. I gotta play test them, but off the bat, players who are going like that, because they are out there. They're gonna go immediately. What the heck is like the heaviest thing they added? Those two immediately caught my eye. Though I did love that Sorcerer Bloodline for the Storm. It's a high level before it gets there, but it gets wild.
What I was probably one of the things I was sort of excited for, not only as a player but as a DM, is the Druid. They fleshed out a lot of the problems with the Druid. Made some tables to make it easier to determine what aspects the Druids have seen based on their background, stuff like that. So you have some new stuff there, and that's what they did throughout this book. They sort of refined the rules a bit so that it helps the DMs keep the players on track.
That table, guys, this is a big one. This is not just because Xenodaemon season comes from the DM perspective. I tend to come from the player perspective. That's how we try to get both angles. And even as a player, initially, some of y'all, especially the power gamers, are gonna look at this table and say, "Oh, that sucks, man." Like now I got a table where the DM can tell me what I might have seen. But no, that's good because you don't want to argue with your DM. All right. I'm a power gamer too. I have many power gamer tendencies, but arguing with the DM is bad. This table allows you to sit up there and just look at it, pick out your favorite, and know what you got. And you can look at your DM and go, okay, I've been in these environments. Do you agree with this table? No argument.
Yeah.
And then the rest is just whatever you run into or just,
it also helps you go, oh, hey, we're in a forest right now. I've been looking for a dire wolf.
Yeah.
You can find those in the forest. Let me use my
survival,
or even magic. I mean, you have find animal.
Yeah.
Let me use find animal so I can find a dire wolf. Now let me go check that dire wolf out, and now I can change it to a dire wolf.
And see, now you don't have to waste that spell slot like I was doing, and you just cast conjure animal. And have you seen a cave bear? Hold on a moment. Cave bear.
Yeah, but that's not how the rules go. So the actual rules for conjure animal, whenever I conjure an animal, I say what CR I want to conjure. The DM determines what I conjure. It is actually a random. Yes.
How does that work for Polymorph? Does it do that for Polymorph?
No. Polymorph, you get a pig. Once you get Polymorph, you found everything. Yeah, sure. Polymorph is... Once you get to that level, that's the level where the bell curve starts happening, and you're hitting that level of power. That
Polymorph is still a spell that I even as a player and a power gamer, I have to call it a game. No, it's game breaker, man. It's game breaker. Like I can't imagine casting that spell and not having to apologize immediately afterward. But the book really adds a lot of. What they also do is they maintain that quality of writing that I just have been.
Oh no, there were several times I was reading it and I was like, that is such a beautiful choice of words. Like they definitely use great wording throughout the book that I was very excited about. As reading it made me want to continue reading it. When you can basically just appeal to my senses of wordplay. And get me continue reading. That's an achievement.
I mean, I think that's the biggest thing about the book that romances the reader. Is this awesome style of presenting it.
I think Volos was still a little more playful with it, but
but that's okay because honestly, despite the fact I like good writing, I'm a content hog. I want content in my book, and this one does not feel like it's lacking on content. Like you get your per page value out of it because you get a lot of archetypes, a lot of items.
I have some complaints about that per page value, but we'll get there as we continue on.
Maybe also depend on what you're looking for because I'm a big guy on class archetypes, items.
Well, skills. No, you got a lot of value out of the character options. We got some new racial traits, feats as well.
Oh, cool.
You had, and the this is your life section. that to me, it's sort of one of those semi-wasted sections. Like it's something good for newer players or somebody who's trying to make a random character and they need some inspiration. That this is your life section adds to that. I can make a story using dice and rolling on these tables, or
some people are table lovers, man.
Yeah. So
I just remembered the section that you're going to talk about. I'm looking at it like, oh yeah, you hated that though. Yeah.
So you had some of that. Then you have the first. Now this is also one.
He's light on spells, not a whole lot of spells.
Well, yeah, but this is one of my complaints. Very, very slight complaint here. I do somewhat dislike when a book has both character options and DM options. Because this book is now not only required for characters, but it's also required for DMs. Or it's not just required for DMs, it's also required for characters. Because half the book is character information that your players should know and be able to use. And then the other half of the book is DM information that the characters may not need to know.
Oh yeah, I forgot. You don't like that. Yeah, yeah. He's an old school DM that's got that sentiment that the DM's book should be separate from the player's book, and that content only the DM should know should not be readily available to the player. I don't disagree, but since everybody in my gaming group is a DM and a player, that's just impossible for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're used to running for pure players, they're going. If they buy this book, they're gonna have some of the tools that you might want to utilize at their on hand.
Yeah.
And you can't really tell somebody who bought a book to not read half of it. They paid their money.
Oh well, yeah, no.
Yeah, so you're kind of stuck because the DM going, I don't want you to read chapter like 2 through 4.
Now, some of the stuff in the DM's guide is stuff I don't think players necessarily is a bad thing for them to know. There's the rate of falling rules. You want your players to know the rate of falling rules. Flying creatures and falling, stuff like that, where they really fleshed out some. Like I said, they fleshed out a lot of the rules. Sleep, how waking up and all that works. You have tool proficiencies. Now, back in the character session, they did have some new, traps and stuff like that for the rogues. That was nice. Some new tools and tool descriptions.
Calligraphy has arrived. Yeah. And then, yeah, like you said, they did some more area. Awesome area effects showing like how that should look.
Yeah, because that was a little bit roughly described in the previous, because there have been several questions on areas of effect in previous. Let's see, we have Downtime Revisited. So, new crafting rules. Now, the new crafting rules were nice looked at. They fleshed a lot of that stuff out as well. And of course, most of the stuff in the Dungeon Master's tools. Another reason why it's one of those things where I'm not necessarily care for the players to be readily accessed. It's a lot of it's optional, And when you throw in optional stuff like that, some players have a rough time. It basically just boils down to the DM putting his foot down and going, "This is what's in my game, and this isn't what's in my game."
No, I've always felt the golden rule is just let your players know before they're in the middle of doing it. You don't have a problem. Because I'm not going to lie, I don't care about putting your foot down. If you tell a player halfway through a game a new house rule that affects something important to them, you can't also expect a player to not go, I really should have known that, a few levels ago.
And the trap section was actually in the Dungeon Master's tool. It wasn't in the class area. So that was a good section to read. I read over the trap section. It was well done. Overall, I'm enjoyable of the book. Other than, like you said, not a lot of spells. But this last 20 pages of the book.
20 pages.
20 pages of the book. This is wasted paper, my friends. That's what I say.
There's somebody that likes it, man. There's somebody that doesn't have time to...
Google, man.
You're sitting at the table. You've got bad internet. You live out in... You're Amish? I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, the last about 20 pages of the book is nothing but name suggestions. So all the different names for different races and stuff like that. and suggestions on appendices on how to.
Now, note it does have it where you can roll names.
Yeah.
This is presented where you can roll random names.
But you have non-human names, Dragonborn, Dragonborn male. Then you can roll his clan, stuff like that. I don't know. I mean, it's not horrible. At least you can roll on it, so that makes it a little better. But it's just a waste of space to me. Like, I can go to Google, man, and I can type in random Dragonborn names, and I can hit randomize, and it will give me different names all day long.
I can't argue with you that. I mean, the main reason that I'm not upset is because the book is so good about space and the rest of the book that I said you could have 20 pages to throw in something that you think is cute. But now, if it was any less on content, I would like to. If it had like more full page art and ate up more pages, I'd have a problem.
Yeah.
But for me,
I mean, it's not a thick book.
You get so much out of the rest of it.
It's actually a lot less thick than a lot of the D&D books are. But it is crammed full of good information. Other than the naming issues, I don't have many issues with it. I definitely am glad to own the book.
And the key part, players, about this book is that, because we both know, players that have been doing this a long time, you can buy books that have a lot of content and it's trash content. No, everything I saw seemed at least pretty good. Like, the only section I looked at where I saw like several archetypes that I said one of these is decent is I wasn't impressed with the sorcerer archetypes except for the last one. I kind of felt like the first two still followed the sorcerer theme of being fun only, but not practical.
Well, okay, so now that we've run through everything that's in the book, what's your verdict, man? What do you say?
If you are a 5th ed player, absolute must buy. It adds more options. Unless you're a one-trick pony who's just decided you'll never do anything outside of one thing in the player's handbook, you need these options, even some role-play tips and racial options to get the most out of being a player. I'm giving a player point of view, must have.
Yeah. DM's point of view, I also say must have. Fleshes out the rules, definitely adds a few new magic items, which, I mean, the system does hurt on magic items. So anytime you can get some new magic items in, that's great. The fleshing out the rules, though, is probably one of the best parts. And, hey, the players get more options for characters. You get more options for characters. So the player side is just as important for us DMs as well. So, yeah, check it out. Like I said, any player or DM, this is a good book to have. My only suggestion, my biggest suggestion, is we went into our store to buy this book, our local gaming store, and a lot of these books had some printing errors in them. They had some ripped pages, crinkles. I've heard of people having upside down pages, stuff like that. So I wouldn't suggest buying it off of Amazon or some online store. Go to your local gaming store, check them out, actually look through the book so that you don't end up with a bad copy.
That's the other advantage of going to your local gaming store. Yeah, I'm big on flip through a book because you don't know what you might get through the mail.
Yeah.
One last thing, and just for fun here. Now, you own quite a few of these books. If you were to put them in a row of necessity, like Volo's Guide, Xanathar's Guide, the Sword Coast, and let's say somebody owns none of these books, what would be the first book you say they need to buy?
Well, this book actually includes some of the stuff from the Sword Coast and stuff like that to make that book not really required unless you want the Forgotten Realms part of it. I mean, obviously your Player's Handbook and your DM's Guide, your two most important books. Then I would probably go, this book is next because of the player content, new classes stuff. Volos and rules. Yeah, and the fleshed out rules. Volos would be number 4. And then the Sword Coast would be number 5. And then, of course, any of the campaigns past that.
We are on the same page. I absolutely say that this book has too much in it to not be the first that you buy after your core books. Because here's the thing.
Yeah.
You don't have to have the other books to build a campaign, but for balance purposes, you don't want to try to build your own classes and magic items if you don't have to. If you can get them, get a good list of them.
It's hard to think of everything, and most of the stuff in this book was on the Arcana where they're online. They've already fleshed through them. Players have been using a lot of these classes and a lot of these stats for over a year now, and they've just changed them a little bit here and there for balancing throughout the year. So, I mean, this is fleshed out material. This isn't something where they're printing off some new stuff. It is fleshed out, ready for the player. So,
and I agree with you with Volo's guide, especially for the DM. To me, Volo's guide's a DM book.
Yeah.
But man, it will give you such an insight in how to create encounters and monsters that if you will learn a lot even before you get a module. Because you can screw up a module. We've seen a module get screwed up bad, where like somebody runs it and they just don't get any style or atmosphere out of it. So I think Volo's guide gives you a good basis for getting that style down and a way to introduce monsters and encounters. Then you can go into either the Sword Coast if you're planning an environment, or most of those campaign books really do hold up well enough on their own that you don't need. So I'd say I put the Sword Coast a little further down if you're ready to start running something.
Well, hey, this is the Xanathar's video, though, and this is our opinion on Xanathar's. Tell us what you think if you've got the book. Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to like, subscribe, check us out on Facebook and all that good stuff. The links are down below in the description. Man, so we hope you have a good time gaming. We will. Take care.